All right, welcome back. Let's have a little fun today. Let's talk about the original Reader's Digest article on the Curse of Oak Island. So, the original article was published in 1965, and the article starts out with, for over 200 years, people have been going to the island of Oak and trying to find treasure. Now, here's my first concern with that is, historically speaking, the story goes that in 1795, Daniel McGinnis got onto his little dinghy and floated across the causeway where he went out and found this depression in the ground, and he dug down and found the first platform 3 meters down, right? He went back to the mainland. He wrestled up his friends, John Smith and Anthony Vaughn, and they came back and they dug down to 6 meters and 9 meters, and they found the platforms. And then the kind of mystery just grows from there, right? So here's my first concern is in 1965, Reader's Digest says 200 years, which takes us back to 1765, which is 30 years prior to the supposed Daniel McGinnis on his float going across the water and finding the original money pit. Now, what I did here was I went ahead and I broke down Oak Island. You like my model? I broke down Oak Island. I utilized all of the lots that are set up on Oak Island and the 4 main players in all of these theories behind the story. Now, Daniel McGinnis, right here, his family owned property on Oak Island from 1750, the mid-1700s, into the 1800s. The McGinnis family had property on Oak Island. So the idea of him floating across the causeway doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it does, because there probably wasn't a road then, so he might have at the time, okay? So Daniel McGinnis and his family owned lots 6 and lots 7. Now, note that the money pit is over here on lot 18, is where the money pit sits. So Daniel McGinnis floated across the causeway, went up into this area, found the money pit, went back across the causeway, picked up his friends Anthony Vaughn and John Smith, came back across, and supposedly found all those platforms. Now, John Smith, who is the mysterious character, we don't have a lot of information about John Smith. His family owned 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. They owned the entire east side of Oak Island. So, if McGinnis is one of the main players in this, why does John Smith's family own everything? So that is a concern of mine. You can see there's a little overlap in colors here. We're going to move into Anthony Vaughn's family. So Anthony Vaughn's family is the family that owned lot 5, way down here. Lot 5 is where the house is being excavated in the Curse of Oak Island, where they found all the artifacts, the military artifacts, the buttons, the beads, the whole 9 yards. Now, Anthony Vaughn's family owned 5, 13, 14, 15, and 17. Now, 15 and 17, they sold back and forth between themselves and the John Smith family. So those slots kind of traded places. Again, Daniel McGinnis, who was supposedly the one that found everything, owned 6 and 7, and basically within a year of owning lot 6 and 7 for himself, sold it to Samuel Ball. Now, Samuel Ball is one of the main characters because everybody said, how did Samuel get all of his money? Well, Samuel was a freed slave. He ended up joining the British military, and through his course of life, he owned lots 6, 7, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 100 acres on the mainland, and Hook Island. Now, Hook Island, also referred to as Sam's Island, is never mentioned. It's just off the southern coast of Oak Island. There's Causeway. It's just off the southern coast of Oak Island, off of his property. Sam Ball owned this property and has never been discussed on the show. So what is on this island that could tie into what is going on Oak Island? We may never know. Now, again, my concern here is that the article itself says 200 years, but we're already well within the time frame of a gap there because there's a 30-year gap. So I guess the article couldn't be written in 170 years ago that they've been searching for treasure. Anyhow, I digress. Now, although Daniel McGinnis thought that he was looking for pirate treasure, between 1795 and 1803, there's not a lot on record about how much of the search went, because supposedly, I don't even care, there were stories about ghosts of some individuals that died back in the 1720s. So the boys just gave up their whole treasure hunting experience. But in 1803, they went ahead and bought their own lands on the island. Again, their families already owned lands, but now the boys bought their own property. Daniel McGinnis was now 24. We don't know the age of Vaughn. We don't know the age of Smith. Well, in 1803, they went out and they recruited Simeon Lenz. Now, Simeon Lenz was a wealthy Nova Scotian. He was the tax collector. And he said, you know what? If they have treasure out on that island, I want to be part of it. So Simeon Lenz got involved in this, and in 1803 they made their dig down. They dug down 28 meters, which is 91 feet. In the course of digging down that 91 feet, they came across coconut fibers, charcoal, ship's putty, and the rock. Now, a couple weeks ago, I did a video on the shaft itself being a Viking shaft where they stored their tar and stuff for repairing ships and their food. This kind of fits into that because the coconut fiber would help keep it dry. So what they found in the shaft at that time ties into what the Vikings would have used shafts like that for. That being said, at 28 meters, at 91 feet, they hit a solid part. They pushed a 4-foot tamping rod down through, and they hit the solid rock, solid wood, solid something that they said, this has to be the treasure chest. They went to bed that night and figured 4 foot's too close. We're going to just pack it in and go to sleep. We'll finish digging the last 4 feet tomorrow. They come back tomorrow. It was full of water. Holy crap, imagine that. It was full of water. What's kind of funny, at this point, Simeon decides there's nothing of worth here. There's nothing of value. And he actually releases a statement that says there's no reason to do any more treasure searching on Oak Island. This is most likely a natural formation. There's no treasure here. And he taps out. Now, in the article from the Reader's Digest, they say that he was broken and battered and he tapped out at that point, but historical records actually showed that after a year of working with McGinnis and team, he basically said, there's nothing of worth here, I'm not wasting my time anymore, and he went about his business as the tax collector. Now, if there was actually treasure out there, the tax collector is not going to walk away from it, he's going to stay involved. He walked away from it in 1803, so that just kind of discredits the entire story, in my opinion. Now, for some reason, 46 years pass before the Truro Syndicate decides to go ahead and make another attempt at the treasure. Now, the Truro Syndicate is made up of Captain Vaughn, so Anthony Vaughn is now a captain. Lenz has come back as a shareholder, and we now have James Pitt Blado from one of the most recent episodes, who supposedly found that coin and stuffed it in his pocket and took off like Wile E. Coyote, is now doing the dig in the Money Pit area. At this time in the Money Pit area, now again, 1849, we've come through a significant amount of time from the 1795 supposed locating of the area. So at this time in 1849, 1850, they dig down with their horse. They get down 98 feet. At 98 feet, they run through a piece of spruce, undisclosed dimension. An empty space, undisclosed dimension. A 4-inch piece of oak, 23 inches of loose metal, 3 more inches of oak, 8.5 inches of loose metal, and then 4 inches of oak and spruce before reaching clay. Now again, that's at 98 feet. When they pulled the drill, the auger back out of this section, they come up with 3 links of gold chain and really just questions at that point. Again, they decided to call it a day. Who needs to go down there and find it? They went about their business at the 98-foot level, and it was full of water the next day. Holy crap, are you serious? They found all this in that auger bit, and they didn't just finish drilling down. At this point, Captain Vaughn, who had to be well in his 70s, again, we don't know the age of Vaughn, because we know McGinnis was 70, but we never got Vaughn's age. But at this point, supposedly Vaughn said, you know what? I remember way back when that there was water running 518 foot down that way in Smith's Cove, and we should probably go check it out. So the Truro Syndicate went down to Smith's Cove at 518 exact feet away, and they found the finger drains with the coconut fibers, and it was on top of a stone platform, which is yet to be found. There's been no stone platform. So the description in 1849, 1850 was a stone platform with eelgrass and coconut fibers on top of a 5-box drain.